We are back. Happy Halloween Horror Nights season to you and yours. It is one of my most favorite times of the year when I get to sit down and make my anticipation list of all the houses because finally, at long last, everything has been revealed about Halloween Horror Nights 2022. I want to immediately just jump into this because I can't even contain my excitement. It looks like an excellent lineup this year. I am so ready to get back to the event, and just seeing all of these houses have made me feel even more just over the moon excited for all of this. Life has been so crazy lately, like so much has been going on for me, and I'm finally like ready to ease into my absolute most favorite time of the year. I feel like time since the last Horror Nights has gone by so slow, but also like really fast at the same time. But regardless, I'm so ready to walk through those gates. I will probably be like open mouth sobbing again this year. Maybe that's just what I'm gonna do from now on at Horror Nights. As always, my little disclaimer: taste is subjective, whatever. These are just my opinions. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong if you disagree. I know I say that all the time, but it always bears repeating. And I'm going to be working backwards, counting down from 10, my least anticipated, all the way to number 1, my most anticipated. So let's get right into it. Number 10, Blumhouse. Not much to say about this. Neither of the Blumhouses that have come before have been my favorite. I have not seen Freaky. I might try to before the event. I saw the Black Phone. It was fine. I mean, that's really all I can say about it. I just, maybe some things aren't for me, and perhaps this might be one of them, or I could be wrong. Time will tell. Number 9, Descendants of Destruction. So I'm having a hard time figuring out why this one is ranked so low for me. It could be a couple of things. Just the whole like abandoned subway mutants. It's giving me that feeling of Chernobyl Diaries. I know that's a totally different thing. I just rewatched that movie recently. For whatever reason, that's one of the only horror movies that has ever like actually scared me. So maybe I just don't want those vibes. I don't want to be experiencing that in person in real time. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm scared. But also the subway thing also brought to mind a couple of scenes from the Dead Exposure Patient Zero house, and I really didn't have a fun time in that house either. That one scared me. So I think just the associations with this one are what is putting me off of it. And I know there's been jokes about like, so this is just a normal New York subway station. I mean, I'm not here for any New York slander. I love New York. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. I could be proven wrong for this one. Just something about it isn't really clicking. I'm not feeling very excited to be attacked by mutants in the subway system. I don't know why. I feel like this isn't very coherent, but this is kind of the only one that I feel that way about. I don't know, just something about it is not making me all that excited. So in the 9th place it goes. Number 8, Hell Block Horror. So prison and also monsters. This could work. It reminds me of kind of like Cabin in the Woods. The monsters were, I mean, I don't know if we want to use the word incarcerated, but the monsters were locked up in that and then they escaped. So is this a similar thing? I don't know. This one has the potential. I'm just wondering about set design for this one because I think there's only so much that you can do to make a jail setting really interesting or creepy. I know adding the monsters in kind of gives it that different touch. My biggest curiosity about this house though is what kind of monsters are we going to be seeing? That does intrigue me. So I do kind of wonder what this one's got in store for us. And I could be wrong about the scenic. It could be amazing. But I just know, I think about some of the other houses that I've been through in the event that have had the prisons in them, like the year that The Walking Dead featured the prison in it. The one Psychoscarapy Echoes of the Past is the one that I got to do. It's just not my favorite location because it just feels kind of stagnant in terms of set design. But who knows? I haven't even been in the house yet. That's why this is an anticipation list, not a things I already know list. But who knows? Hellblock could be really interesting. I just want to know what the monsters are. Number 7, The Weeknd. I'm so looking forward to this one. I really am a fan of incorporating more music into the event. I think that music goes hand in hand with atmosphere, which is really entirely what the haunted houses are about. I was lucky enough to get to go through another music themed house the year they did Alice Cooper here. And I know that was not one of the most popular houses that year, but I actually really, really enjoyed that one. I liked going through it and how each house was a different song. It was one of my favorites that year. I feel personally that it's underrated. So if the weekend house is anything like that, I will be really, really excited. I have listened to the album that it is based off of. I know the visuals of the music video have lent themselves to more of that like creepy horror aesthetic. So I don't agree with the people that are criticizing this. I know there have been some very vocal supporters of having this particular house be at the event, and I know that some people weren't so thrilled to see it. I'm really excited too. And I've always said too that a house doesn't have to be like completely over the top terrifying for me to enjoy it. And as a matter of fact, I tend to value other things more than scares, like the atmosphere, the scenery, the costumes, just everything working together to create this real lived in the moment experience. I have always been very vocal too about how houses that are just like downright fun or funny have been some of my favorite ones. So I feel like this could be one that's just really, really fun and interesting and neat to walk through, kind of really unlike a lot of things that we've experienced at the event in the past. So I'm really looking forward to see how this one plays out. Number 6, Fiesta de Chupacabra. Now, I happen to remember another year when we were allegedly supposed to get a Chupacabra house and it didn't pan out. And I remember being really disappointed that year because it sounded really neat. And now look at us in 2022. It is in fact happening and I could not be happier. I love incorporating another culture, another myth into the event. I think that's really neat to reach out to other cultures' lore and cryptids and urban legends, kind of like what we did with La Llorona. I really liked the year that was at the event. I really liked that one. And maybe this is like our foray into exploring more cryptid things. I'm one of those girls. I love anything about a good cryptid, you know, Mothman, Jersey Devil, and give me any of them. I would love that. Oh my God, if we had a Mothman house, that would be incredible. Maybe next year. Let's just focus on right now. But this sounds amazing, the idea of this kind of festival gone awry where you and the tourists are being lured into something a bit more sinister. I think it sounds amazing. I think this might be one of the houses where we see some good old gore. It just seems like the theme to lend itself to that. Yeah, that's just my prediction for it. I can already, like in my mind, I have a picture of what this house might look like. And in my mind, it looks neat. And I'm sure that whatever the creative team has designed is probably going to be a whole lot cooler. But just reading the little blurb online about this one made me get really, really hyped for it. I'm so glad to see it's a part of the lineup. And again, I hope this opens the door to exploring more cultures because there's so much more out there to really touch on in terms of famous urban myths and urban legends and lore that has been passed down sometimes for generations. And I think it would be really neat to tap into more of that. Number 5, bugs eaten alive. I have seen and read the most response about this house. Reading that people on the team are already having a hard enough time going through this house without the effects turned on gives me pause. I don't like bugs. I don't think anybody, I mean, I'm sure some people are interested in bugs. I'm not one of those people. I don't want to see a bug. I don't want to touch a bug. I don't want it to touch me. So this is one of those very real fears that I know a lot of people have. So to have giant bugs in a haunted house is going to be something. And I don't know if I'm more excited or more scared for that. So that's why I put this one kind of smack dab in the middle of my anticipation list, because I'm not really sure. I'm excited to see it based on the hype, but my God, please don't touch me. I hope these bugs don't have like little pincers and they're gonna get me. I don't know. It's like a curious fear. Like, I'm afraid, but I still want to see what it's going to be like. And I have this memory of going to the local science museum here. And in fact, my cousin and I that went to this exhibit were just talking about this recently. There was a bugs exhibit, and one of the things was you walked into a giant anthill and there were giant animatronic ants in there, and it made a really loud noise, and we got scared and we ran away. And we were like fully 10 at that point, so we weren't like young kids, but it was really scary. So I'm flashing back to that. And there's not going to be much choice of running away. I'm going to have to just keep pressing on through this house. So I'm going to have to be braver that day. And maybe come armed with a can of Raid. That might not be a bad idea. Number 4, Halloween. I am a shameless Halloween franchise stan. I love Michael Myers. I know we have seen this before at the event, but I love it. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this either because I have spoken at length about my love for Halloween, the franchise, and at the event in years past. You should know by now. If not, you should watch the video where I sat down and watched every single movie from the Halloween cinematic universe over the course of like a month, and it was great, and I don't regret that. It's one of my favorite horror franchises, probably my favorite slasher franchise, but anytime we can have Michael at the event, I think he deserves to be there. And the fact that we're just doing straight up Halloween, the original from the 70s, yes, I would take it every year and literally not complain. I love you, Michael. Welcome home. Number 3, Spirits of the Coven. Really loving that we went with like a 1920s speakeasy vibe. I like that aesthetic in general, so putting that in a haunted house is like just like chef's kiss to me. And adding witches on top of that, I think this is going to be like a fan favorite house. I think this is going to be like one for the girlies this year. I think this is going to be like the spot. I am so looking forward to this. I love like playing with decades and jumping through decades. Like Bugs is going to be in the 1950s. We've got the 1920s here. We've done the vampire scare zones, vamp in different decades and everything. I love that. I love when there's like a really strong dedication to a particular period in history. I'm wondering though, what is the process for turning guests into witch's brew? I would imagine it's pretty painful, right? So I don't know. It might be worth it. If I get to go into the speakeasy and see the flapper witches, it sounds worth it. But here's another question of mine. Will there be a code word at the door? Isn't that kind of a thing that you do in speakeasies? I guess we'll find out. Number 2, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. So there is a lot going on here that I am really digging. One, we're taking inspiration from a scare zone. We had Dead Man's Wharf, a very popular scare zone from the year that it appeared. We are adding a winter element to it. And of course, my mind immediately went to Winter's Night, the house from 2011. And then I could just like feel the cold of the air conditioning. So I'm expecting that this is going to be one of those houses that after standing in line and getting hot, it's going to feel really refreshing to go in there. I love a winter setting, something about cold and the trees are barren and the weather's not that great. That is just like so horror to me. I absolutely love that. Setting it in New England over the past couple of years. I've been to New England for the first time ever. I love how it feels up there. I love just the feel and the architecture and the culture. Everything up there I think lends itself to just the mood and the setting that they're trying to convey with this house. I think that this is going to be a really big fan favorite too. I think this, like I said with Spirit of the Coven, I think these two are probably going to be like two of the more popular original houses in a year of what looks like really strong original content. But there's just so much here working in favor of this one that intrigues me. I see this one being more of like a melancholy experience too. Like I don't see this being like fun or funny or silly. I see this being just like a proper like sad in a way haunted experience, one that really sticks with you and that you really feel on like a deep gut level, just given the storyline, the short little blurb that is on the website. So I'm really feeling this one. I've been thinking about this one a lot in terms of making my anticipation list and which ones I'm really most excited to get into. And finally, my number one most anticipated house is Legends Collide. I have been so thrilled about this since the moment I heard about it. I hope everybody could hear the thunder that just happened. Of course, like a storm would roll through while I'm recording this. It's gotten progressively darker. I love it. It's all horror. This is so perfect. I'm not editing any of this out. This is the real deal here. This is horror right here. But I have been thrilled about this one from the moment they announced it, and I screamed and I yelled and I was so excited. Give me my monsters. I am obsessed with the Universal Classic monsters. I know there's been kind of a twist on them in recent years. Love everything they've done recently. The Universal Monsters house, like, what was overload for me. My brain almost exploded getting to see all of the classic monsters in a new way. Last year, The Bride of Frankenstein Lives. Oh, beautiful. Loved it. No notes. Perfection. And now to get 3 of them back together, fighting. The girls are fighting, but getting them all together again. Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. I don't even care about my werewolf fear anymore. I have like come to a place of peace in terms of like the Wolfman proper. Other werewolves, not so much, but like the Wolfman, and we can thank Lon Chaney Jr. for that, because like his sad eyes just made me like completely fall for the Wolfman and feel sympathy for him. But I digress. I'm not Team Wolfman for this house though. I am Team Mummy all the way. I'm more of a mummy gal than anything else, but I am gonna be like hooping and hollering and so excited, so pumped walking through this house. I already know it. I hope it's intense. I hope it's scary. I hope that they're in your face. I'm sure they will be. I think this is going to be one of the more high energy ones, and I cannot wait. This was like the first house that they announced, and I already knew. I was like, this is going to be my number one most anticipated. I am so ready for this one. This is the one I want to do most of all, and that has not changed. I'm excited for all of the houses overall. I think it looks like a really, really strong lineup this year. I think there's going to be a lot of unexpected surprises. There always are. There's always some things that become kind of like in jokes within the community, like last year with Little Boo and everything, which he's returned, and the Pumpkin Lord, I guess we summoned him again. So I really like, this one feels just really like downright Halloween-ish vibes for the fans. Like again, they brought back Little Boo, they brought back the Pumpkin Lord. A lot of the scare zones are just like Halloween down to their core. So I think this is going to be one of those years that just feels like straight up fall and pumpkins and that just feeling of how fun it is to be a little bit scared. I think that we're in for a treat, and I can't wait to be right there in the fog, just loving every minute of it.